When I'm working with couples, I find that the metaphors that work the best are when you align it with something the couple relates to. And everything in the news right now, it's very easy to do couples therapy, any kind of relationship therapy, and liken it to the political arena, if you will, going on. So, what if I were to tell you that the G7 summit that's coming up is basically couples therapy with nuclear weapons and trade agreements? Now, if you think, well, Mary Jo, that's kind of far-fetched, it's really not. When the world leaders gather for the G7 summit, the reporters are going to focus on things I focus on in therapy, things like agreements, alliances, and the policies. In this case, it's going to be the economic policies. But when I'm in a relationship session with a couple, I'm seeing the same psychological dynamics that influence their marriage. Like basically, I'm looking for things of the same sort. How can they build an alliance? How can they rebuild connection? Can they trust each other? Who has more power in the relationship? Can we even that out? Every relationship is a system. And when countries change priorities, it sets new boundaries, it withdraws cooperation or demands more from the relationship, everyone else has to adjust. It's exactly like that in a relationship. Nobody acts in isolation. In a relationship, when one spouse decides, I need more independence, another wants more connection, one partner wants change, the other partner wants stability. The challenge isn't deciding who's right. In a relationship, the challenge is learning how to remain connected while navigating the differences. And it's the same with our countries. Like, if you think your marriage is an entity separate from everything else going on in the world, you're blind. We're all one big system, and we create systems in all kinds of other areas. Even if you're not in a relationship, look at your family. You're going to see your family negotiate. Who's got an alliance? You'll see one category, the pursuer distancer dynamic. This happens in personal relationships all the time. Also happens in countries. Couples therapists see a pattern all the time that we call pursuer distancer. One partner wants closeness, communication, and collaboration. The other wants autonomy, freedom, and space. Neither person is wrong. They simply have different needs. The same pattern is going on in the country. Some countries consistently push for collective action and shared responsibility. Others emphasize self-reliance and national interest. The conflict is rarely about the stated issues alone. Underneath, it's the fundamental questions. How connected do you want to be? And this happens in your relationship all the time. Trust is the currency of every relationship, not only for you guys, but in our countries at large. A marriage can't function without trust. But neither can international alliances. Trust doesn't mean agreement. Trust means predictability. It means knowing that when conflicts arise, the relationship itself remains secure. When trust weakens, people get defensive. They become suspicious of motives. They start looking or preparing for disappointment. Does this sound familiar? Absolutely. You're living it at home. You may be living it with your family, your siblings. The country is going through it. Whether you're discussing a spouse or an ally, trust is built over consistency of time. Look at triangulation. If you think you're the only relationship where one of the partners is messaging something else, you're wrong. Family systems triangulation occurs all the time. Rather than addressing the conflict directly, they turn to their allies. They might ask their mom what she thinks or their dad. Families do it, workplaces do it, friends groups do it, you do it, countries do it too. Whenever people feel anxious, they naturally seek support from others to get a new perspective. The problem is that triangulation often reduces anxiety just temporarily while making the original conflict much more difficult to resolve. And I see this when I work with couples where there's betrayal going on. I see it in the country at large, and you do too. And sometimes you can change your perspective when you are able to look at it as a country. When you start seeing betrayal among countries, makes it a little easier for you to go, you know what? Am I doing that in my relationship? Boundaries are not rejection. Boundaries are there to protect you. When your partner says, I want some boundaries around this, I feel unstable, they're saying, I love you. I want to know that what we have is protected so I can continue to be vulnerable with you, so I can continue to be, honest with you. It reduces resentment. It defines responsibilities. Boundaries help you understand what's to be expected. It's how much should we spend together? How should we manage finances? What behavior is acceptable? Boundaries make expectations and the relationship more stable and clear. And this is why you need them. Countries need them. During the G7 summit, they're talking about boundaries through more than half of the conference. Everything is, what can we do to provide a state of trust, of security, so we can live harmoniously together and know what we can expect from you. Repair in a relationship is more important than prediction. And that's true with countries too. You need to be able to go back and say, I'm sorry. I'm going to offer this now. What is your amends? Many people assume that a healthy marriage has little conflict. This isn't true. There's as much conflict in healthy relationships as there are in unhealthy. The difference is that healthy relationships work to repair quickly. They don't let stuff sit. They become more skilled at repair. What can I do to make this up to you? And they start changing their behavior. They know how to reconnect after disagreement. The most important moments at international summits occur after tension arises. Can leaders restore reliable trust? Can they find common ground? Can they move forward despite their differences? The health of the relationship is not determined by the absence of conflict. You're going to get into it with your partner. You need to decide how you guys are going to repair quicker. And that means you have to turn around and go back. Even if you're laying your head down and you're like, I'll deal with it in the morning. No, you get up and you go make amends before you close your eyes to go to sleep. We can learn a lot from watching the G7 summit. We can see all these patterns that we have going on in our relationship and understand no matter how much you want to believe you're on this island alone with your partner, floating out there, unplugged. Believe me, this system that you're using in your marriage came long before you, and it's being used in the world at large. If this video is helpful for you, please subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much.